Hello. Boom, boom, boom. Hello. So, you've heard me talk about self-development. You've heard me talk about using pain as fuel and transmuting pain and suffering into some type of meaningful, tangible thing in the world that might be like some alchemical process of an initiation to your own creative pursuit of moving from one state to another. This idea of using pain and suffering as your fuel source. Well, there's more nuance to this argument. Operating from a place of pain, i.e. or like any negative energy, will burn you out. It's not sustainable. So what I mean by that is you're drinking your own poison. You kind of like eat up your own energy because it is taxing on the body, on the nervous system, to have that be your energy center, the place in which you operate from. Now, I don't know if this is legit, but I think this is what jives with me. It's what feels right in my opinion, around energy centers. The idea that on any given day we're operating from an energy state. We're operating from an energy center. So this might mean we are operating from a place of jealousy, hurt, neglect, loneliness, heartache, power, lust, betrayal, whatever serious like emotional state you're operating from that place, and that's your energy center. That's the frequency in which you are and the frequency in which you're emitting. Now, think of if you're in some type of emotional turmoil after losing someone to death or any given trauma. Why do you feel pain? You feel pain because you care about whatever the thing is or the person. Again, using our example of losing someone to death. Why is there pain? If you didn't care, you wouldn't be feeling the pain. So this person obviously meant something to you. A lot of the time we are very deeply sad when someone dies because of the love we feel towards them. And that bit is self-explaining, it's obvious, but some of the time we might hate the person. We might have a very complicated relationship with the person. We might necessarily want to admit that we have more feelings for that person, because when you really think and dive into it a little bit more, love is kind of in the same family as hate and all these things, because hate is just a reflection of a lack of love. Now that's a bit of a topic you can argue back and forth. It's kind of reminds you of the idea of God, that is evil just a lack of good in the world, or is it its own distinctive force? It's kind of like light and dark. Does dark exist, or is it just the absence of light? Another word for this metaphysical spiritual concept is the summum bonum. This is a phrase that defines the concept of that God is all there is, and anything that resembles evil is just a lack of God. So anyway, even if you think you hated this person who died, the hate you feel could perhaps be just the lack of love that you felt, the sheer disrespect to love itself, love being the frequency that every human craves. You could make a very good argument that every villain that's ever existed in any story or throughout history is just a result of a lack of love, a lack of correct nourishment and an upbringing that would, fosters a good person. Every villain that becomes someone that we would frame as evil, there's a good argument to be made that this was his shadow possessing him or her. And the idea of, a lot of people have a concept of the Jungian shadow as being the monster, the evil thing that lives within you that you're not aware of, and how it rules you. But that's kind of half true. What really it means is the opposite of whatever it is that you are consciously aware of. So if you are the type of person to suppress, in most people's cases, the shadow is something that the evil nature of themselves that they don't want to admit. So they suppress and they repress it down, and they go, I would never be the type of person to do X. And then that is like ignoring the very primal nature that does exist as a potential, as a possibility within you. And then that takes on a little personality of its own, because you have excommunicated it from your mind, and you've drawn a boundary and go, no, that is not me. When all of the archetypes of the human psyche makes up you, and you need to embrace all of those possibilities and to recognize that they all almost live as an individual entity with their own motivations and their own agency. Most of the time it's people not admitting of the evil natures of them, but what about to an evil person that fully knows they're committing horrible acts? Well, so their shadow might be a Jesus-like figure, like someone very, very saintly and good, which is kind of mad to think about. It's kind of like I got very interested in this musician called Jacob Collier. If you're aware of him, he's an artist from London, and he's a musician, songwriter, but he's also this just ridiculously cool human being in my eyes. And but then a friend of mine said to me one day, what's his shadow like? Because all of his music is very happy, and it's very uplifting and joyful and inspiring and hopeful, and it's just all good, like positive, like as if he's in love with the world. He's just emanating bliss from every cell. And a good friend of mine posed the question, I'm like, he must have some really, really crazy shadow if this is all he's displaying to the world. And that really got me thinking, about my own, the reasons why I was interested in this artist, because it's not normally like me. I don't really like overly optimistic and kind of like cheesy or positive artists that much. I was always the one to kind of loom in the darkness of all the kind of like the low frequency stuff, but it would jive with the sadness and the pain and the heartache that we all feel from time to time. But this was I got like really obsessed for a while about it, because I realized that a part of my shadow, I neglected the joyful, loving, open, like world is your oyster type of mindset, that playful, innocent kid energy that we all had when we were a kid, like that magic of the world. And like Jacob Collier like encapsulated that in his music, and then I just fell in love with it. And it, on deeper thought and deeper introspection, I think that is my shadow coming out and latching on to what it never got, what I neglected, what I kind of said, no, that's not for me, that's for the unsophisticated, unintelligent people that think that like there is good in this world and positivity and it's all, rainbows and stuff. So obviously this was old Ben, depressed Ben. But yeah, so that's like the idea of the shadow not being the evil thing necessarily. It just means the thing that you're suppressing. So hate is related to love in some type of way. Even if you didn't like the person that died, or you had an extremely complicated relationship with that person, but you still really seem to care, and it kind of annoys you. It's like, why do I care? This person is still bothering me, everything. Well, it obviously meant something to you. There's something behind that pain and frustration or complication. There's obviously something there. There is love underlying it. It's beneath it. So love is somewhere involved in the mix, somewhere within you. So there is an access point to get this, because this love lives within you. So this means that somewhere within you, you have access to the most potent fuel in the cosmos, which is love. Sorry to be cheesy, cliche, all that gooey stuff, but it is true. It is the most powerful frequency, and it's the most sustainable fuel source for all endeavors. From my own experience, I have tried to operate from the energy center of anger. But what's behind anger? Why are we angry? Well, I'm angry that something was taken away from me. What was taken away from me? The thing I love. So, in nearly every circumstance that you feel some type of agitation or pain, if you just chip away and dig away at it, you kind of will always end back at the same place, which is love. Either a love that's no longer with you anymore. Grief is love with no place to go. It doesn't have you were used to having some vessel to be able to express your love to, and it almost in some sense didn't matter what that vessel was, what that object or what that thing was that you were you were expressing love to. The idea is there was something in this world that you had the opportunity for the love within you to get out, and that person dies, and now that love is just nowhere to go. That's why a lot of the time in the bereavement process, it is very crucial to be able to try and find something in this world we can love. But this energy center of love is the most potent and sustainable source that you can be in. Everything is effortless when you're in this energy center. Gratitude is a given. You omit and receive abundance in every way imaginable. And in this state, if you can sustain this state of operating from that energy center, that's when freaky things can start to happen. Synchronicities. Meaningful events in the outside world that correlate in a very meaningful, subjective way with what's going on in your head. This is a synchronicity, and you've probably heard of this concept before, but the lived experience of going through insane synchronicities was enough to make me think I was going crazy, because it's almost like there's a script writer of your life. God reveals himself in all these strange ways, and it feels like the universe is talking to you. It feels like there's a trickster archetype just playfully messing with you. It can be like very gaslighting. It's like, this is too much to believe, like this is too on the nose. And weird thing about synchronicities, they happen up here, and they don't really mean nearly anything to anyone else. Even if it is a crazy coincidence, let's say, and you tell someone that, it never hits like it hits you individually. So your word of advice, you're better off keeping your synchronicities to yourself. It's kind of like the idea of be careful who you give good news to, because it could be, or bad news, because it could be very, very personal, and you could be, overly expecting something massively back that you nearly never get back of what you want to get back. So that's the idea of, so be careful who you share synchronicities to. But alas, you have arrived in one of the most special states a human can be in, reserved for very conscious and aware people that are locked in to the real frequency, the flow state of reality, where all hidden magic secrets get revealed to them in a very personal way that feels like you're living a movie, and the script is being written in front of you, and all you have to do is just follow the script of your own making. It's like a paradoxical thing of, you are the writer, you are the co-creator of where you're going, but you're also following the divine path given to you. It's this weird juxtaposition that you kind of like ebb and flow in the middle of some like yin yang. And then you realize that you're in the fucking zone, mate. But all of these things regarding synchronicities, I'll be getting into in the next video. So if you've made it with me this far, thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.